Here we go. Hello, NuPIC. This is the NuPIC Hackers Hangout. It's not. I didn't call it the what was it? The NuPIC Development Progress Review. Now I've changed the name yet again. So we've got Scott and Chayton and Celeste in the office. David Ray's online as well. So first, let's talk about this name change because I want to make sense of it. So first of all, this was a sprint planning meeting back when we had sprints. And I changed the name to a progress review because I realized we weren't really doing any planning in that meeting. We do our planning, NuMINTA planning, internally because we've got all these projects that we work on, and we don't hold those planning meetings in the public eye. So most of our planning pretty much gets done there. And I wanted to try and have a planning meeting for NuPIC that the public could see, but it was either just a complete duplication of effort, or it was trying to herd cats. You know, trying to tell people in the community what things we wanted them to work on, and then kind of say, please work on this stuff. But for the most part, people just work on what they want to work on. So there's not much I can do to plan for this community. I can encourage people to work on certain things. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Anyway, it's not a planning meeting. I changed it to a progress review, which was a bit more fitting because every meeting we did have a chance to kind of look back over the past couple weeks, see what happened, what did we do, and we can look at closed PRs and for the most part have a decent idea of what was done both by NuMINTA employees and by open source contributors. So that was a decent name, but I still think it's not achieving what I'm setting out for it to do, because even figuring out what was done at times is hard because we never actually go over what was planned to be done. So anyway, what I want to come back to is, and I'm going to make this an open question, I have my own ideas about it, but what is the purpose of this meeting? And I'm going to ask David first. You're the community member. What is the purpose of the meeting? What do you want to get out of this meeting when you log into it?
I want a platform that will rally community involvement and engagement. That's what I want. I want something that the community will feel attracted to and will grow participation and involvement in, planning or whatever, writing code, outreach to other people to, get more involved in NuPIC. So I think in any meeting that involves a community and a NuMINTA, mutual hangout should have those as its, as its goals. That almost sounded planned, didn't it?
Yeah, I agree entirely. So, and I think that just having a meeting, no matter what you call it, no matter what the agenda is, where community members have the opportunity to join and talk directly to the engineers working on the code at NuMINTA, we're going to achieve that goal. So I think that just by having any meeting of this nature, we achieve that goal. And if you go back and look at the views over the history of all the different bi-weekly meetings we've had, people watch them, like 100, 150 people, kind of averages around that many views.
Are you serious? See, I never got to see that. Are those stats available? Well, anyway.
Yeah, they're on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
So these aren't just being like broadcast to the ether. People are actually paying attention. So I want them, you watchers, to get as much value out of this as possible. And so it seems like we have been engaging enough to keep an audience, and that's great. So let me ask the same question to Scott and Chayton from a different perspective, because they're more heads down NuMINTA engineers working on the code. What do you want to get out of this meeting, if anything at all?
Well, we had talked about, this isn't so much for this meeting necessarily, but we talked more about making sure that we sort of allocate some NuPIC issues to each planning period internally so that we make sure that we're making steady progress on some of the important NuPIC things. I think that's important. This meeting might be a good place to figure out what things the community needs, or if they want to have an influence over that. And that won't always be feasible. A lot of the things that the community, the contributions of the community might have to go towards the things that the community want. We don't have a ton of resources here to do a bunch of stuff, but it would certainly be nice to know at least, and have for the open source project and open source priorities, have a clear set of things that people want and have them lined up. And then separately, it'd be nice to sort of allocate some specific tasks to each planning period internally.
Right. Okay. So we have planning periods internally, and Scott and I have been throwing this around for a while now. We want to try and have a decent structured process for this that's efficient, and I'm going to start leading this project management thing again. For a while I've sort of let it drop off and let things self-organize, but for the most part we want to have a clear direction about where NuPIC's going, a roadmap, if you will, about where NuPIC engineers are going to be taking NuPIC, what those tasks are and what NuPIC engineers are working on. I'd like to make that visible in this meeting, what we're working on, and coordinate that with what you guys are working on, and see if there's any shared resources that we can have, any discussions that we might want to talk about. So I think from my perspective, I want it to be kind of that simple. Here's what we're working on. What are you guys working on? How can we collaborate? What are the things that we need to discuss? And here's the forum to do it in. Hi, Richard.
Hey, how you doing?
Jinx.
So, Richard, we were just talking about this meeting and what the point of it is. And I was asking everyone, maybe I want to get your perspective too. When you come into this meeting, what do you want to get out of it? What's your objective?
It's mainly to see what others' progress has been making. But then there's also how the community work ties in with internal NuMenta work that we don't typically see. You can't see the Jira stuff until they become PRs. So there's stuff like that meetings like that can handle that crossover. If there's any stuff the community's doing that might step on toes with the internal work at NuMenta.
Right. So Scott and I have been talking about this, and I'm going to start sort of syncing up issues because we have an internal issue tracker in Jira for NuMenta, and we have public GitHub issues. And for the most part, I've kept them totally separate, but it just hasn't worked well, I think, because the GitHub issues is not kept nearly as up to date by NuMenta as we keep our Jira. So I'm going to try and do some experiments on how we can link those together, and when we have planning meetings internally, so that I know exactly what Chayton, Scott, Austin are going to be working on over the next couple weeks, and I can make that clearly evident if you look at GitHub issues, what the plan is for the upcoming time period of what NuMenta employees are going to be working on.
I think there was a point probably about a year ago when you could actually, David is doing the same thing, both of us were following what was going on just on GitHub, and you could kind of see with the research stuff and the PRs in there, you could see directions and see what things were changing.
Yeah.
But the velocity has really changed over the last, 6 months to a year on the project. More people helping out, so.
And processes change too. I mean, even for us, we've changed our processes every 6 months, and we just do. That's the way agile software shops work. You adjust as you find things that you think work better for the team. So that's going to continue to happen. I'm going to give you guys a heads up. I hate having 2 issue trackers. I'm trying to find a solution. I have some ideas of having just 1 issue tracker for one that combines internal work that's not public with external work that is public, and gives NuMenta a way to prioritize and plan them both, and gives the public a way to just see all the public stuff and have it be totally in sync with what we're working on without any duplication. But the solution is Jira. So I'm just warning you. I don't know if I'm going to just do a complete swap and say we're getting rid of GitHub issues, we're moving everything to a public Jira. Because if you remember, if you were here back when we started with Jira. We moved to GitHub issues. So I don't know what the solution is going to be. I just know I don't like the status quo, and I'm brainstorming about possible solutions. So the first part of this coming year, we might have some things switch up as far as issue trackers, but the end goal hopefully will be much cleaner. Another thing I wanted to talk about was infrastructure changes. Did you guys read the email I sent to the commit list about Bamboo? It was switching from
Atlassian thing, yeah.
Yeah, switching from Travis CI and AppBear at some point in the future to a Bamboo infrastructure. No, it's not Jenkins.
I'm just joking.
We've used Jenkins for years here at NuMinta, so we know all the warts, and we don't want Jenkins.
Right,
we're moving away from Jenkins to Bamboo, and I think I'm excited to have it actually after seeing how it works. I've worked with it in other teams years ago, and we were always happy with it. It just seems to have gotten better. So we're going to try and do this in a piecemeal fashion. When we get to it, we'll start at NuPIC core. We'll create like a parallel build in Bamboo. So we're not just going to wipe out Travis CI and AppBear. We'll get something that does everything that we want and hopefully more running in Bamboo in parallel. So we'll have all those CI systems running at once. And then we'll make a plan from there, whether we want to continue doing that up the pipeline or whether we want to just switch NuPIC core and then work on NuPIC. We'll figure that out when we get there. But this will happen. I'm certain this will happen. We had an opportunity for committers to comment on that, and nobody raised the flag and said, oh, hell no. So I think we're going to go ahead and do this. I'm in favor of it. I think it's going to make life easier for everybody in the long run.
I'm real curious to know how the community open source stuff works in parallel at NuMinta with internal development. I mean, it seems like they're totally separate things. They share common goals, they share milestones, but it seems really weird. If I were working at NuMinta, I would kind of be weirded out by the process, I think.
Everyone is. It's hard, and there's a lot of overhead. So every time you see a PR that like Chayton or Scott creates, first of all, I have a requirement that PR has to fix an issue in GitHub Issues. So there's an issue in GitHub Issues for that. In most cases, there's also a JIRA in our private JIRA somewhere that is the root cause of that work occurring. So there's a duplication there as well. Sometimes the GitHub issue will link back to that JIRA, but in most cases it won't. So yeah, it's not a great situation, and that's one of the reasons we're having this discussion about issue tracking and duplication.
Right.
Okay. Does anyone else want to talk processes? So you kind of know what my plan is and the direction that I want to take, and I think Scott's on board with that plan, and you guys seem like you don't have any major problems with it. And if anybody else is watching, let me know if you have major problems with it. We've got a mailing list. I would say NuPIC Hackers is the best place to let me know. Otherwise, I want to talk about what's been going on with NuPIC and NuPIC Core with Scott and Chayton.
Are we supposed to talk?
Yeah, we're synced up now. So the big thing is we're synced up now for the most part. We got past that huge backlog of 300 plus commit difference between the projects, and so that's awesome.
When did this happen?
Few days ago.
This week.
Oh, awesome. Good job, guys.
So we've talked about ways we're going to try and not let this happen again. Make this a little bit higher visibility if we get such a big discrepancy between the projects, so that we can put more resources earlier. Because it was like this for too long. We all recognize that, and so we'll try not to let this happen again. So great that it's all synced up, but there are some build problems that Scott mentioned to me. I would like you and or Chayton to talk about that, because there may be some issues with people right now trying to build.
Yeah, they're mainly around the external dependencies, and if you have something installed at a system location, there's a couple issues around that. So we'll get those fixed soon, but and there's workarounds for all of them, but expected little things that came up. But
Uh,
it would be very annoying for a new user trying to install from source if they ran into these.
I definitely encourage new users not to install from source if they can help it.
Well, I think we're in a much, much better place now than we were before. So once we fix some of these issues and have a chance to harden the new setup, it's going to be so much more reliable.
Great.
And the source build option should then be kind of the fallback. So if for whatever reason you have problems, you can just build from source and reliably get a working build on a wide range of platforms.
Luckily, we had a release process in place so that most users could just install from binary, which is preferable. Which leads me to my next topic. When can we do another release? I would say as soon as these build discrepancies are cleaned up, I think we should plan a release because it's been a while and it's been a lot of work since then.
Yeah, the build issues are only a problem for the source build, so we could do a release now.
We could do it now, okay. Well, why don't I don't want to do it right now on Friday. Maybe I'll do it first thing next week.
Sounds good.
Cool. You know, we've got a new QA engineer. I have not invited to this meeting, but he might be a good candidate to try and test our release binaries. Just thinking out loud. All right. So, Richard, since we got you, do you have any Windows updates? I know you've been busy. I've been seeing the PRs.
It was mainly getting this week was getting the CMake sorted. The changes that Scott had been making, getting those ready and working on Windows. There's a few outstanding PRs. Because the frustrating thing, I think, well, Cheaton and I have been stepping on each other's toes with the serialization and the PyCap and P work. So some of that's been delaying other things, and I've probably been delaying some of his stuff. But I think we're kind of through most of that. Because Windows has been there for, it's kind of been, with a few of the bugs that have been ironed out, it's mainly been there for the last 3 weeks. So I think the final PRs now, we should have, the NuPIC bindings has been fine for a while, and then it's just this final NuPIC wheel, which should be made on the last PR. So so everything's kind of there, and then it's a case of whether we get all this up onto PyPy. And that's the thing that's been holding that up, is just trying to get proper wheels made that are going to work all the time. So
do you think it would be worth it for us to wait to do a release until you've got the Windows wheels on PyPy? Now that I say it, I'm thinking, no, we should just release and then worry about that.
Did we just get lost, or did Matt get lost?
I think Matt lost. I don't know where he went. What he was saying made sense, to do a release now and then another one afterwards, I guess.
Yeah.
Just so we can get everything back in sync.
Right. All right. Well, hopefully he'll make it back in here soon.
I think he just went to lunch or something. Mate. So you guys like playing Doom on your computers or something, or what's up?
No, I'm trying to get through some email backlog.
I'm back.
Hey, welcome back.
Yeah, I lost internet connection. So, but anyway, I was saying I don't think we should wait to release until he's got the Windows wheel running. We should just do another release whenever he's ready.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing, David Ray. Yeah, do you want to talk about any HTM Java updates on your side?
Um, I don't really think there's much to talk about right now. I need to vet a PR that one person's been waiting to implement, and so I have to do that. I've been really busy on the cortical side though. Um, but one really cool thing is that I've elicited overt support for HTM.java from Cortical.io. I mean, they're like in full buy-in mode. I've been allocated an official percentage of time to work on HTM.java, and as a company, they're like fully behind it now.
Great.
So that's kind of a, it was always kind of implied, but it's really cool that, it's been said now, and organized kind of too, because we have a JIRA for it now too.
Awesome. That makes it
So,
official.
right. Besides that, I did some homework. I did some research on serialization formats, and it was kind of born out of my concern about an email that came out from in which Fergal was talking, and Mike Lucetta was talking about antidata having to do with the choice to make HTM.java object-oriented, and the troubles involved in when you were trying to run um, what is
Yeah,
that?
the HTM Moclue traffic
Yeah,
application. Yes, I'm
yeah,
familiar.
with hundreds of models starting up. And so kind of out of that, I found out that there are a whole lot of options I have um, for really fast swapping in and out of memory. For one thing, HTM.java has no state in any of the algorithms, so that's really good. So all I really have to serialize is the connections object, and I'm not really worried. I don't think I have to talk to you guys, but I don't think I'm worried about storing encoder state. I don't think I really care about that, or have to really care about that. But I'll talk with you know you guys about that. But if that's not the case and all I have to do is serialize the connections object, then there's a thing called an unsafe. One of the issues with serialization is that um, if you want to copy uh, when you're pulling in serialized data from a file, the memory it's pulled into your operating system memory, and then that has to be allocated inside of the JVM heap. Um, and there's like two memory copy operations, and that's really what accounts for the latency. So there's two ways around that. One that Antidata was talking about, where you can have a direct memory map of a file in memory, and you can just write to it and not be concerned about actually persisting it, because the operating system takes care of that in the background. So if your machine, if the program crashes or something like that, whatever was already written will exit out to disk. So it's supposed to make Java, and this is how things like Lucene, and there's a lot of things, tools or Cassandra, these that naturally use this stuff. And then there's a thing called an unsafe operation, where you can write directly to and read directly from memory in a native way. So and then there's this thing called Cryo. So there's a few products out there that I think I can use to really highly optimize, swapping in and out of memory with model. I mean, and there's Captain Proto too, and keeping the same serialization format as. But this other stuff I'm mentioning is supposed to be even faster than Captain Proto. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but I kind of I need some help. I need some help with this, because it's not really in my wheel, my experience. So, I've been talking about this for a while, but, I need to get some community involvement and, some NuMINTA involvement, some cortical involvement, somebody who knows this stuff, but.
Well, let's start a discussion.
Right.
Specifically, I mean, the thing that concerns me is if you choose a serialization protocol that is entirely different than NuPIC, maybe that's fine. Maybe everybody's like, it's no big deal. As long as we all know that we're not going to be passing models between environments. And maybe that's just a stretch goal into the future. At some point, we decide on a common serialization format. Because that is sort of far-reaching. That's a longer goal to do that sort of thing, and nobody is screaming about needing it right now. So maybe the best thing is to do what's fastest and easiest for you right now, and we'll worry about that later. But start that conversation so we can all give our input.
Okay. That sounds good. So that's all I got. That's all I got, really. I can, when I think about it, Captain Proto seems like the way to go. It really kind of gets under my skin to have a whole separate compilation process. As Java is light. I mean, Java is really light. So you can you don't have to install it. You just freaking run it. And for me to burden it with platform-specific considerations. It's kind of a nail under my craw, so I don't know. That's the only way I can really describe it. To have to do that kind of thing, why? I might as well be programming in C++ then.
Well,
I don't know.
We chose something because we wanted something that was going to work across languages, and there's just no way around what you're describing if you want something that's going to work across languages, with the exception of trying to maintain backwards compatibility and keeping it in sync between languages, which I would argue is impossible. But I would just say for what you're doing, a couple of really quick comments. Saving encoder parameters, that's you wouldn't have to do that, right? If you can just associate the coders with the same parameters and they're deterministic, then yeah, go ahead. That's
right.
That's not going to help you much, right? Most of the data is stuff that you really do have to save. So the parameters for the encoders are nothing compared to the amount of stuff being serialized in the temporal memory. So I wouldn't really worry too much about that.
Okay.
And then memory mapping, yeah, I think that is going to be the fastest, especially for an application like the Grok application we had built, where you just deserialize, run one record through, and reserialize it. That's actually one of the reasons we chose Captain Proto, is because it's not available in an easy-to-use format right now, but on their roadmap is supporting memory mapping.
Right, I saw that.
But it's not available now. So if you really need the fastest possible and you have some other format, I wouldn't be surprised if you could find one that was faster, but it's going to have a lot of restrictions in other areas, right? It's not going to have the same well-defined memory format that's cross-language compatible. It's not going to have some of these other advantages. So there's definitely trade-offs. If I was you, I would just use the native serializable functionality in Java for now, because that's going to be the easiest to use. It may not be the fastest, but it's not going to be off by too much. An order of magnitude probably isn't that big a deal for most applications.
Right, right. So the only thing is, because I chose objects, we can get into the gigabytes of memory too. For the temporal memory, all the synapses and segment, and I don't know if I have the culling of the segments in there yet. But anyway, okay. But I know Captain Proto has a whole lot of advantages too. I was reading all about it today too.
So using something that has compression is going to help a lot with the disk size, but then you won't be able to do the memory mapping.
Right, right. And if I do memory mapping, then it is CPU, platform specific too, because then you have to worry about Indianness and all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah, well, Captain Proto is byte for byte defined, so it's platform agnostic. Even
Okay.
when it can happen, but
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So, yeah, I didn't mean to steal the show with that, but I just
I gave you the conch, so. All right, so let me just note that I programmed Java for like 5 years primarily, and I never heard anybody say Java is light. So.
Well, I mean, when you talk about
now you've done it, Matt.
Oh, shit.
yeah, really.
Forget I said anything.
I mean, come on, you can download a jar and just hit, and say Java freaking run, okay? It's a lot different from, making sure you have compiler tools and
Okay, that's what you meant by light.
yeah, that's what I mean by,
I mean, it's easily deployable. That's more. Anyway.
you just freaking use it, you know?
Okay, love you guys. I'm gonna get offline. Thanks for everything. Well, I'll try and do this. We're probably not gonna do another one of these until January because the holidays are coming up. So stay tuned. I'll be on the mailing list and stuff. But that's it. I'll see you guys in January then. Have happy holidays.
You too.
You too.
See you guys.
See you
Take care.
guys. Take care.